Alright, we're good to go. Alright, what's up? I'm Daze. A lot of people watching this video may or may not know me a little bit better as 13 Blades. That was my previous tournament handle that I entered with for about 7 years or so. I don't know. Anyway, I did a poll on Twitter trying to gauge what people wanted to see in terms of BBTAG content. Formerly, these are videos that I was gonna make anyway, but you know, just trying to see where the starting point should be. And neutral was actually the topic that won the poll, so that's what I'll be talking about today. And this video is not meant to be a, you know, an all-encompassing "this is how you play neutral in BBTAG" type of video, because there are a lot of ways to go about doing that. Actually, one of the unique things about this game is that you can play however you want, really, if you're playing the right team. So if you have a team that plays neutral in a really special type of way and is working for you, by all means, play like that. But you know, just trying to share some more general knowledge on how to survive the neutral game, you know, because there's a lot of nuance to it when you really like break it down. And there's a lot of effective ways to consistently keep yourself safe among a lot of the wackiness that happens. So yeah, that's mainly what I'll be going over today. Let me just pull up my handy notes here. I have like some bullet points that I'll probably be glancing to from time to time, so if I make an awkward pause, bear with me. I gotta catch up. So, alright, to start, what is neutral? Alright, let's start from there. What actually is neutral? Neutral, in like the most bare bones, simple way of describing it, is two players at a neutral state in the game attempting to transition into a advantageous state. I think that's probably the simplest way I can actually explain that you know, term. Just gonna pick some characters here really quickly. So yeah, the question becomes not what is neutral, how do you win neutral, right? Because obviously you want to be the player who is actually advantageous over their opponent, right? That is the big question. How do I get in on my opponent over them getting in on me, right? Do I just do this? Is that what I need to do? Do I do this? Just chuck fireballs, right? So that's where the question actually, you know, broadens out a little bit. So in BBTAG, there actually are some things that make it a little more difficult for a seasoned fighting game player to actually adjust to. So things like this, right? Particularly if you play anime games, you've seen this before. They jump back, air dash, right? A seasoned anime player or just fighting game player will be like, okay, anti-air, right? But the presence and threat of assists in this game, like this, makes that not such a good idea all the time. And those are some of the types of things that I want to cover in this video, because they are a little bit difficult to adjust to if you have no idea what you're doing. So for example, oh whoops, if Ruby does this, right, and our comments like, yo, I'm gonna just 2B you, I get tagged. Well, that was actually way cleaner. Yikes, Ruby. Oh my god, Narukami. Okay, that's not what's supposed to happen normally. Yeah, something like that, right? It's not always consistent, not always clean, and that's what, you know, you normally would want. You know, you want to know for a fact, okay, if I hit this button here, if I anti-air, they're gonna get hit. No trading, no losing, nothing like that. But yeah, we'll get to that in due time. Starting off, what is the first thing here? So yeah, to try to break down neutral, how do you actually win neutral in this game? You have to look at your team. Your team is the most important part of like actually going about playing neutral. Some teams, like the one I'm playing now, Team Shuttles, it's very like clear-cut, simple if you played a fighting game before. I have fireballs, I have a decent anti-air, I have a Shoryu, right? You know, decent buttons, you know, range, jump normals, typical Shuttle stuff. So their game plan really is just to play almost probably the most traditional fighting game neutral in this game. Narukami in this version is a little messed up, but still, for the most part, he's hitting 5A, you know, at good ranges, hitting 2B when you're in the air to air and you and stuff like that. right? So that's typically how they play neutral. But most teams in this game are actually built upon a gimmick, if you will. For lack of better wording, anyway, a gimmick or a strong thing. This team is probably not the best way to demonstrate that. Oh wait, actually, here we go. I have the perfect example for this. So, gimmick, strong thing, this right here. Neutral, baby. That's neutral. So, you know, as seeing that, their Ruby Gord's conditions, as you can see, for winning neutral is actually different than Narukami Hyde. Hyde point can actually do something similar, right? Something like that. And technically, you just won neutral. You put your opponent in a very bad spot because they blocked your projectile. Right? But if you know anything about these characters' options, then Hyde doing this to you is a lot less threatening than Gord doing this to you. But at any rate, it's still, for most intents and purposes, winning neutral. So yeah, most teams are built upon something like this. Whether or not they actually use cross combo isn't too important. But my team, for example, I do play Seth 9, so I'm gonna pick them really quickly.
Get ready.
Alright, so Seth 9, for example, this is my gimmick, my strong thing. This right here. Just landing a jump in and neutral calling 5p at the same time. You're automatically in a very bad spot, because in this game, something that is universally strong is setting up the sandwich, like this. So getting your opponent between your 2 point characters like this is one of the worst situations you can find yourself in this game. It is very hard to defend against. If it's structured correctly as well, it is very safe to reversals as well, right? Like, you do stuff like this, if they DP, Gord just dies. So you don't never want to find yourself in that spot, and the easiest way to avoid that situation, rather than dealing with it when it does happen, is to just win neutral, right? But to win neutral, you have to know what your strong thing is, and you also have to know what your opponent's strong thing is. This builds into synergy as well, which I can talk about in another video, I guess, but for most intents and purposes, synergy has to go both ways. So, you know, 9 strong thing is doing this. That is neutral for me. I am looking to hit you with this in neutral. I want you to be in this situation. That is what I'm looking for. So I'm playing neutral, I'm evading you and stuff like that, with the purpose of landing this. So Seth point, I can do something similar, right? This is just as bad. That is just as bad. It's arguably worse, actually. But it's still, you know, what my goal is. My goal is to sandwich you from neutral. So, neutral in this game is, you know, trying to feel out your opponent, you know, because you have 2 characters, both of you. You have 2 characters. You have to be wary of their assists, but you also have to be wary of what it is they're actually going for in neutral. And if you're familiar with the characters, if you've done your research, you know, training mode, stuff like that, you kind of know what some of these characters are capable of. So you know what to look out for. Ruby, for example, you know, if you ever fought a Ruby player, a good Ruby player is going to be flying at the top of the screen, calling their assists and stuff like that. So you know that's what their strong thing is, right? She's flying around at the top of the screen, she calls assists, you get behind both characters, and it's go time, right? So yeah, that goes into matchup knowledge as well. So if you are aware of what your strong thing is and you know what your opponent's strong thing is, how do you go about getting in on them first? So one of the biggest obstacles to actually just running your opponent over and doing your game plan before they can do theirs is their assist. So in this game you have 3 assists in total. You have a 5p assist, you have a 4p assist, and you have a 6p assist. This is not universally constant, but most 6p assists are neutral assists. They hit, like, you know, further away. This is 9 6p. 5Ps are kind of just like straightforward, I zoom across the screen, you know, type of moves. 4Ps are usually your anti-air assists. Usually, not universally, but usually. So you kind of want to play around those. And I'll briefly like cover what some of the better usages for these assists are. Because if you're trying to get on your opponent and you know they're just calling their assists on you, then it'll be kind of hard to get what you want. So mainly, what's the first thing to talk about here? Alright, so one of the main ways your opponent, or just maybe you, are trying to enforce yourself in neutral is, you know, jumping in and calling your assist. Or just calling your assist in general, because getting them to block your assist is very bad for them. So that's probably what you're looking for, right? Or in Nine's case, like I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to hit you with this. How do you defend yourself against stuff like that? So in not every case, it is very easy to anti-air a character. So Ruby is probably one of the biggest violators of this. It's very hard to anti-air this. This is very difficult to do, particularly so when she has an assist behind her. Like, how do you anti-air that, right? Oh wow, I hit her, but I actually still got hit by the gourd assist. You know? So one of the main ways to go about dealing with their assist threat, you know, rather than a point threat, I'll get to that a little bit later, is hitting the assist. Duh, obviously, right? You want to hit the assist. How do you go about doing this? There are four main ways to do this. Mainly, if you see an assist on a screen, you can react. You can react to the portrait of the character coming in. You have 2 cues of when your opponent is actually calling their assist on you. You have Ruby, you know, her voice clip, right? Oh, whoops. Very hard to ignore. And you also have the character portrait on the right side of the screen. So if you're paying attention to your opponent's side of the screen and you see Gord's face show up like right there, then you can kind of guess, you know, what it is you have to do. So say Ruby's in the air, she calls assists. How do you get out of this situation? There are a couple ways to do it, but I'm going to like try to expound upon the pros and cons of the 4 main ways to do it. So really, you can just hit them like that, you know? Very not easy to do. Some characters have an easier time than others doing this, and sometimes if you do it wrong, you just get hit. So it's not the best option, but it is possible, and it's something you want to think about, right? Especially if you're paying attention to the assist, you know, on the right side of the screen. So you can hit them with like a low recovery normal on reaction to the assist portrait. Some characters, Jin for example, Jin and Hyde. There are also like character specific ways to fight assists that I'll talk about a little bit later as well. So let me put Gord point here. Say you call Ruby 6B right here. You see the assist portrait, you react and do that. It doesn't hit you, right? So therefore you don't block this, and Gord doesn't get to do this. Technically anyway, there's a lot of things that can happen right there. For example, if you do this and then you 3C and then Gord just, you know, murders you for whiffing 3C. But, you know, a lot of characters can actually low profile Ruby 6B. That's a lot safer than whiffing 3C, as you can see. But anyway, that's just, you know, an example of that. So yeah, that's one of the main ways of doing it. You can just hit the assist, you can smack them if you see the assist portrait. Simple, easy. Or you can do like a character specific. You have to actually like do training mode to see how you can actually fight these assists with your characters. But you know, these are some examples. You can low profile some of them, right? Cool. What else do we have? So the second way to do this is throwing out a low commit move with lots of active frames preemptively. So the first way to do it is actually reacting to the assist portrait. The second way is preemptively guessing where your opponent will call their assist and putting out a move with a lot of active frames so they can't call their assist. Carmine's probably one of the best examples of this. Hyde can do it too. It's a little less safe, but
Get ready.
So yeah, say whoops, wrong character. Say Ruby, you know, is calling Papa Gord, right? And you don't want her to do that. If you guess, you can do that. Maybe do it a little bit earlier, right? So at that point, there's no saving the assist from cross combo, right? Not a reaction anyway. Or even like if you did it like even more preemptively and they call assist, you can hit them before a cross combo even becomes a factor. Right? You can't cross combo immediately when you call your assist. Like if you try to cross combo during the assist flash and a character is not actually on the screen, then there's no saving them. There's no saving them at all. Like, I'm mashing it here. Okay, there we go. I mean, you can do it pretty quickly. But like, if you call your assist immediately into this, there's no cross combat, right? So yeah, that is another way to do it. This is very low commit, extremely low commit. No recovery on this, really. Especially if you do it low to the ground. Like, look, wall of hitbox. High can do something similar, right? You do that. No, whoops. And no assist can be called right there because you are occupying that space with active frames. Another way to do something similar that is more universal is calling 5P. So 5Ps are actually really strong in this game, and a lot of people do not know that, or don't use them as such, I guess. Obviously some 5Ps are stronger than others. You know, Ruby 5P is really nothing special. Like, okay, whatever. Gore 5P is still pretty good despite getting weakened. You know, hits a high area, hits twice, lots of block stun, moves him forward, pretty decent. Lots of active frames as well. High similarly, hits really high in the air, lots of active frames, moves him forward. So, like I said earlier with doing Carmine Wheel and stuff like that, to preemptively hit the assist, because you want to occupy space before your opponent's assist can occupy that space. You can just call 5P as well. That's something you can do. So, same effect. Oh, whoops. Oh, lord. Something like that. It becomes like a mind game almost. Normally you don't want to call your assist second. I mean, normally you don't want to call your assist first. Normally you want to be the second player. Some assists can achieve this better than others. High assist is pretty fast, so you can actually call it in reaction to certain assists. Maybe not this one. Oh, they trade. Yikes. Man, it just gets blown back. High assist beats somebody's assist in this game. Oh, actually no. The best way to demonstrate this is... Where is she? My 5P is really good at doing this, actually. So if you see somebody calling their assist, you can react to the assist portrait with her 5P and just smack them, and they're no longer an issue. Of course, you can also do it preemptively, but certain assists are better than others, like I said before. But 5Ps are really good for fighting your opponent's assists. So if you find yourself getting bodied in neutral by somebody just calling their assist all day, and you're like, yo, how do I avoid this assist? I can't jump away, I can't get away, she just hits me, I can't anti-air. Call your assist. Call your assist better than they do, and it will be easier to deal with. It's not all encompassing, but it's definitely a way to try to lighten the load a little bit. So, whoops. Gore 5P, right? Smacked. Not smacked. Okay. This is better at dealing with like slower assists. Probably like list XP or something. Seems like a decent enough example.
Get ready.
Yep. Alright. Smacked. So you actually cannot call this assist at all at that point. But yeah, that's kind of like a mind game there. So the third way of dealing with assists, I'm sorry if I'm running on. Well, I guess I kind of linked the two ways together with the preemptive 5Ps and the lots of active frames. There are also like some character specific ways to do that, so I guess that could be the fourth way of doing this. So you have characters who have armor. So everyone's favorite girl, Yang here, tank as well. They can actually just react to assists and just hit a button, right? So my favorite thing is seeing Ruby fly around the top of the screen, calling assist, you know? Yeah, like I'm flying, baby. You just smack her. Like, you literally just smack her. Even if you're late on this is probably not the best example. Thanatos is getting beat up. Lord have mercy. Yeah, so even if you are late in reacting, right? Because normally if you try to hit the assist on reaction with a normal, sometimes you will lose. Probably a lot more than sometimes, but it's not the safest thing to do. But if you have armor, that armor backing you up, then it's a little easier. But that's just like a character specific thing. Clearly not everybody can do that. Oh, I even forgot who I was picking. What happened?
Get ready.
So yeah, well, I can do the same thing. See that? Just armor right through him. It's not like it's hitting her low or anything like that. So these are the kind of things that you kind of want to training mode and see what your teams can do, because I can't account for everyone's teams because there's a lot of comps in this game that are very good. But those are like some general ways to, you know, start thinking about how to actually keep your opponent from doing things to you in neutral and just, you know, enforcing their will. Like, oh, how do I stop this? Well, instead of anti-airing it and getting smacked like that, you can just jump away and call your assist. I forgot I was playing tank, but look, there you go. Very low commit way of trying to get away. As long as you don't get happy birthday, your assist can take a hit. It's fine. Oh, whoops. Lord have mercy. Ruby Rose. Ruby Rose. Always exceeding expectations. Can tank beat this consistently? Lord. Whatever. You get the drift. You get the drift. If it's done correctly, then majority of the times you'll win. Even if you don't, you know, you're not put in as bad a situation if you actually got hit trying to anti-air, or if you actually just lose trying to anti-air. So yeah, that is pretty much how you deal with assists in this game. You can hit them preemptively, you can hit them reaction, you can call your assist preemptively, you can call your assist on reaction. All depends on what characters are actually on the screen. So I urge you to actually do your due diligence in training mode and see what your characters can and can't do against, first off, some of the more popular compositions in this game, and then just everybody else that you run into issues with. So moving on, second way of, well, not second way, sorry. Moving on. How else do you navigate neutral in this game? Because clearly it's not all just assists that you have to worry about. There's more than just assists. So this is some of my favorite advice. If you've been watching, you know, informational videos on anime games in the past, you've probably heard the phrase, look at the screen. Somewhere. That advice is actually pretty godlike because it is something that a lot of people don't actually do. This game gives you a lot of information on the screen, right? Mainly with the cross gauge. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, right, that is a lot of information right there, right? What your character, how threatening your opponent is, can sometimes be directly correlated to how much cross gauge they have. This team is like one of the perfect examples. This is actually why I picked it. So this right here, they can only do this when they have cross gauge. So if they just burst it, they're a lot less threatening than they would be full screen if they had cross gauge. Alright, so you want to be paying attention to how much gauge the opponent actually has at all times, and you want to factor that into your decision making. If they have cross gauge, you kind of want to play a little bit more evasive, because you know this is coming. You know for a fact this is coming. Why wouldn't they do this? How do you stop them from doing this? How do you stop them from doing this with this team, rather? Let's start there. Because some teams can just, you know, shut it down. This is actually really dangerous. Don't do this. That's an easy way to get supered and just die. But, yeah, it's something that you want to factor into your decision making, because if you don't, then you're probably going to lose neutral a lot more. So if they don't have cross gauge, say they just burst it, right? Well, I don't actually have to do it. Say they just burst it, right? And Gore's kind of just jumping around like this at the end of the screen. He's not completely defenseless, but he is a lot less powerful and threatening. than if he actually had cross gauge to do this. So that's technically your time to go in. Of course you want to be smart about it. You don't want to just run at him and then, you know, he does this. Oh. And you get mixed, alright? You want to be a little smart about it. You want to cover his assist usage. Make sure he's not freely calling his assist. You know, whatever means possible you have. You know, whether that be preemptively calling your assist. I guess that has a lot of active frames. You know, something like that. Or just doing something like Carmine Wheel. Or being prepared for when you are running at him. Like, oh, his only option in the air is calling his assist, really. Or like air dashing or something like that. If he used both of his jumps, especially, you want to be paying attention to that. That is important. His options are so much more linear. So if you're prepared for the assist, it's a lot easier to hit them on reaction because you're looking for it. So yeah, that's pretty important. What else we got here? So yeah, there are actually two different types of cross combo activation in this game. You have good cross combo activation and you have bad cross combo activation. So what I mean is, oh my god, I've never actually taken this character in a lab. What is that? Dash. Okay, this right here, not the best cross combo activation. Cross combo is a very powerful tool and it is the linchpin of this game. You have to have like a strong way to utilize this mechanic to be successful in this game with any team, right? So for Tank, what does Tank get off of this, really? Well, he probably does get that, I guess. That's hilarious. Let me not use Tank because I don't know what this character does. Oh, where is he? Oh, here we go. Actually, no, a better example. Tager, right?
Get ready.
So say you like having fun, right? You just pick the fun team in this game, I guess. You know, wasn't really worried about synergy and just picked this team. This cross combo activation is not the best. What's stopping Gord from just jumping away? Like, there's nothing keeping him pinned down. You want to make sure that when you activate cross combo, you are in control of the situation. That is something that a lot of people don't do, and is what loses people a lot of games. Because remember, when you're using cross combo, you are spending your burst. You're actively spending your burst, and that resource is extremely important to keeping you alive. If you get hit without a burst, you just explode. You just die, alright? And you can't stop it. So that's why the worst case scenario is to get hit out of your cross combo or waste your cross combo because it didn't do anything, or your assist gets hit, you know, something like that. That's the worst case scenario, because then you are open. You are just a sitting duck. Granted, here it comes back faster than if you would have burst it, but it's still terrible for you if you just get hit right after losing CC. So, bad cross combo activation, you don't really get anything off of this. Alright, if he push blocks, actually, let me just do this with Ruby. Alright, imagine Gore can't run. Alright, I'll push block this. She can't cover me. She can't cover me. If Gore didn't have a run, he get, like, what does he get? I mean, he still doesn't get anything off of that, really. I guess he can, like, maybe 6B. 5B doesn't hit anywhere anymore. Rest in peace, Gore. Like, I'm gone, homie. See you. You want to make sure your opponent is pinned down. You want to jail them. So, bad cross combo activation, good cross combo activation, like this. Right here, you cover a lot more options if you cross combo doing a sandwich like this, right? You've seen this time and time again. We all know this is strong, right? If they push block Yang, you just call your 5P assist, and, you know, push block is covered, right? And you can just run back in, do more offense, blah, blah, blah. I'm the best, right? My offense is so good. So yeah, clearly that's a good cross combo activation, but there are other ways to actually go about getting a good cross combo activation than specifically getting them in a sandwich. Well, getting them in a sandwich from block something like this, right? You can also establish a sandwich from neutral, and there are a couple ways to do this. So if someone is jump happy, right? Say they're air dashing at you, doing something like this all day. Maybe not this. This is very hard to contest with 5P. But say they're jumping at you, right? And your sis gets behind them like that, because you called them out. Oh Lord. This is bad. Well, I don't know how bad, because Tiger, depending on assist, like if that was Naoto Kuragane, alright, with the God 4P that hits at the top of the screen, how are you getting out of that? You can't jump away. There's no jumping away. It hits very far and wide. So you just established a sandwich from neutral. Low effort, low commit. All you did was hit 5P, alright? So that is very strong. That's another way. That's another good cross combo activation. You'll probably see that a lot at high level, where people are actually paying attention to where their opponent is landing. You pay attention to their air options, right? Gore can only jump twice and he has this bunch of land recovery. He's getting punished if he does this. Really. So most Gore players, bless their souls if there's still any left, will not be doing that, you know? So that's another way, you know, to establish a good cross combo sandwich. What else is there? Oh yeah, I guess that's really it, honestly. Just those two main ways. Like, you jump over them, you know, cross combo, easy. You can also cross combo with bullet assists and things like that, because it doesn't matter if you push block at that point, it's coming right back out. Bullet assists are really cheap. Susanoo has this, Narukami has this, you know what I'm talking about. So you do this. Characters with command grabs or very fast high-low by themselves take advantage of this very easily. Akiko is a good example. Izio is another good example. So yeah, that's another way that you can use cross combo activation. That is good CC usage right here. For most intents and purposes though, most of the cast will only be doing this though, like sandwich CC. The only way you can do CC like this, you probably see this a lot as well, is if your character options allow it, pretty much. If your 5P is good enough, and if your character has I mean, you can do it if you just want to keep up pressure. A good example of this is Narukami Hide. Where is he? I wish they just gave you the character select screen right there, like a miniature version of it.
Get ready.
Okay, so yeah, a good example of this is doing this to keep up pressure, right? And then you just air dash for it. You make them block their assist, you do a normal that's jump cancelable, you just keep going back in, right? You're making them spin gauge to get away, resources to get away, blah blah blah. So yeah, from neutral, if you actually get them to block this, oh, oof. You don't want to just activate like here. That's bad CC activation. This is a little bit better, a lot better actually, because right there you are in control of the situation. There's no chance of them, you know, just wiggling out immediately and hitting you, and then you lose your character because you can't burst. So yeah, you do want to keep that in mind when you're pressing CC. Say somebody is about to land, you called your assist already, right? And they're kind of just on the screen doing a cool pose or whatever. Oh, whoops. Oh my god. And then they just happen to jump. If you CC right there, right? Well, not that late, but if you see that they're gonna land and you CC, they have to block right there. Because you are now in control of the situation. So do keep that in mind. Good cross combo activation, bad cross combo activation. Make sure you are in control of the situation, however your team actually goes about doing that, I guess. So moving on. Okay, so I have like 2 more things left to cover. I'll try to wrap this up as quickly as possible. Anti-airing in this game. So anti-airs are, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, a little different than they are in traditional fighting games. It's not always the best decision to just hit the button, right? Like that. Like, how do you just get hit? Of course, you can air to air. Air to air is also another thing. It is very matchup specific, right? You want to know the limits of your character's assists and how likely it is to actually hit you depending on how you attempt to anti-air. Because sometimes you can just do this, right? And it's not a problem. Say he does this, right? And you try to air to air. Oof. Well, maybe not super jump. But yeah, this also happens a lot where they jump in with 4P. You try to air and you just get hit. That's a punish. That is actually a punish. You can't escape that with anything you do there. So you want to be cognizant of how the opponent is actually trying to get in on you, and how safely you can go about stopping them from doing it. Because sometimes the answer to this or a situation like that is to not anti-air them at all. It's to jump away. Jumping away is very important. You have to jump away from danger in this game, because you can't always come out on top of a situation. Regardless of the fact that I just came out of that top situation on top. But you know, sometimes you have to just get away, you know, and cover yourself as best you can. Because once their assist is out, they have a few options. They just let their assist go away, right? And they can't call it assist for a while after doing that. Once they're on the screen doing the pose or whatever. If the assist is still on the screen, they can try to cross combo, but if it's not a good CC activation, they put themselves at risk. So, yeah, it's okay for your reward to not be immediately, you know, oh, I just hit you with 16K. Yeah, you know, like sometimes your reward is like, okay, I got away from this situation. That could have been a lot worse than it actually was, right? That's something that's going to be very big in Grand Blue when that game comes out in a couple days. Being satisfied with smaller punishes than, you know, ridiculous damage that we're used to in anime games. So yeah, I'll just briefly talk about some of the common ways that you'll see people, you know, playing neutral like this, and like how to deal with it. So obviously, you want to be aware of the context on the screen, alright? So from this range right here, what would Gort be calling Ruby for? This, obviously, right? That's what's gonna hit from that range. This, not so much. This, definitely not. So he's probably gonna be calling this from here. So if he's jumping like this, and you see the assist portrait, because you do want to be looking out for the assist portrait, you know, just checking to see if they're coming out or not. You can kind of tell, like, if you're at this range here, and he's in the air, he's probably gonna do this. There's a chance he'll do this, so be ready for that. And that assist is not gonna hit him. It's not gonna hit Narcotic, right? If you're in the air, you just glide right over it, right? So air is a viable option here. So on Ruby's side, however, it's a little bit different. Her assists are not the same as Gord's. If you do this, right? Ruby has a lot of options when she's in the air, right? And you can't cover all of them. So, I mean, I guess you can attempt to anti-air here, right? Oh. Air to air, right? It's possible. But air to air right here, not the best decision. Not the best decision at all. So right here, it'll probably be prudent for you to jump away. You know, try to call your assist, blah, blah, blah. You know, get away from that situation in its entirety. You can also do this, you know, active frames, like I mentioned before. That is also technically anti-air, even though you didn't hit them with this. A lot riskier, you can just DP too. Like, that almost whiffed, you see. You don't always want to DP, but DP is completely invincible, so you don't care about the assists at that point, you just hit them. It's particularly good if you see them out of air dash too, right? High probably has the easier time doing this, yeah. So yeah, be aware of your options, because, you know, not every character has a short UDP like this. I've said it a lot in this video, and I want to say it again, you know, be aware of the options. Like, the people who actually put in the time to explore character options in this game are probably the ones who are going to stay on top, because knowledge is definitely power in this game. I don't see why anyone would want to guess in a game that can end in 20 seconds. Like, I see this assist coming out, right? Oh wait, no. I see this assist coming out right here. I think I can low profile it with 2A, maybe, because I didn't actually do the training mode. I didn't actually do the training mode, so I don't know, right? Imagine I don't know. Oh, whoops. Right? I think I can 2A. You get smacked and Gore kills you. And that's it, because you guessed, because you didn't know. You know, I beg of you, please be aware of the options in this game, because it will save you a lot of grief in the long run. What's the word? There's a phrase for this. Disaster prepared, disaster favors the prepared or something like that. I don't know. Chance favors the prepared. There you go. So something happens in this game. If you're prepared for it, because you did the training mode and you're kind of aware of what can and can't happen, or what's likely to happen, then you can, you know, kind of control the chaos in this game a little bit better. So yeah, just a small aside. That pretty much wraps it up for anti-airing though. You have a couple main ways of doing it. You know, just looking at the assist and making taking the contextual clues of where the spacing is in neutral, and seeing where you should actually be attempting the air-to-air, DP, actually just hitting the button anti-air. And lastly, you can also like hit the character's assist, like I mentioned before. If you call your assist at the same time at air-to-air, even if it hits you, right here, oh my god. He beats Ruby at 4P. It's mad fast. It's probably the worst example of this. Because that is an assist where you need to be jumping away, actually. Jumping away or DPing if you're a god, I guess, because air-to-airing is not the play. It's not happening. Right, see, something like that. You can also call your assist at the same time and then you don't have to worry about it. But it's all matchup dependent. It's all matchup dependent. It's not always gonna work for every character versus any other character. So you do have to be aware of that. I think I'm almost done here. There is one last thing I want to cover, and that is push blocking assists. So I did mention before that this is not the best CC activation, right? So most people, let me not say that. That's a big assumption. Most people shouldn't be activating CC right here. So say you get caught with an assist in neutral, it's still a pretty bad situation for you, right? Because they can, you know, run up and do this, and then suddenly you're in a bad spot. They are in a very controlled situation, and you are being very restricted. So, an easy way to avoid this is actually just push blocking assist when they get on you. Alright? And one of the cool things about this game is that you can actually use push block to reposition yourself. So if you are mid-screen, oh lord. This is a good way to demonstrate this.
Get ready.
So if you are mid-screen and you push block and assist, some assists, right? You can actually reposition yourself. You get pushed out like full screen or back into the corner or wherever you need to go, far away from your opponent. Anyway, further away than your opponent than you would normally go by push blocking assist. So say, you know, Magatsu Izanagi. Did you see Narukami just leap across the screen? That is very good to be aware of. If you block an assist, you can do that. Late push blocks as well. After opponent is actually, say the opponent actually got this, didn't cross combo. Say they get this and they try to run up and do stuff, right? Oops. Can I do this? That's a punish. Of course it won't always be that clear cut, but it is very important to think about where you can and can't do this, and how to time it as well. Sometimes you don't want to do it immediately, because then they get right back in. Oh my god, how do I do this? Something like that. So yeah, I think that about covers it. I apologize if I left out any information or it was hard to understand because I just rambled on. But like I said, or maybe I didn't say, this video was definitely done in one take, mainly for the purposes of, you know, just getting better at this style of video. I don't want to like just second guess myself and stop the video every time I make a mistake. The more I do stuff like this, the better I'll get at it. If there are any like suggestions for other topics that people want me to cover or want to see, just leave it in the comments. I will be looking at those, as well as like the layout. If people want to see the layout still, want it full screen, blah blah blah, I don't really know. But yeah, I will be making a lot more videos, a couple more BBTAG, and hopefully for Grand Blue. because I am pretty interested in that game. So yeah, if there's any questions too, you can leave those in the comments as well. You can add me on Twitter. My Twitter's on the overlay if you have like any questions or anything like that. So yeah, peace.